Well, this is Sue Favor with Women's Hoops World, and I am so excited today to have with me the wonderful Semeka Randall from the University of Tennessee, and NaSheema Anderson, who is was a fine basketball player in her own right, comes from amazing basketball lineage, but maybe more famously known at the moment as the mother of All-American Naz Hillmon. And so I'm just really excited to have you ladies here today. Welcome to the format.
Thank you, Sue,
Thank
for
you.
having us. Hey,
Thank you,
Sheen.
Sue. Hey, Semeka, how are you?
I'm good. Love you.
Good. I love you too.
These two have been childhood friends. Growing up in Ohio together, they played basketball together, and it was during the last college basketball season that I have known, disclosure, I've known Semeka since she played for the Seattle Storm in 2002, I believe, 2002. And then I was living in Seattle at the time, and she was one of the players then. Back then, it was kind of different. The players were accessible where they did fan events, so we got to meet them. And then I got to know Miss NaSheema through social media, of course. I did an interview with her daughter last fall, which was wonderful. And both of them have grown up together, like I said, playing basketball in Ohio. Semeka is actually the godmother to Naz. And so I wanted to have them on so we could talk a little bit about growing up playing basketball in the 80s and 90s, because that was a pretty special time for women's basketball. First of all, just to give a preface to our audience, after Semeka Randall's WNBA career, she's gone on to coach at various schools, and she is currently the head coach at Winthrop University after being the interim head coach. We're very proud of her for that. I'm pretty excited about that. I would love to play for you. And Ms. NaSheema is currently going to travel the world and be with the go to Puerto Rico next month to watch her amazing daughter play in is it the America?
Yes.
Okay.
U19 America.
They have so many USA basketball teams that I have to really actually look them up. I actually looked it up. I'm like, which cup? World Cup, FIBA Cup, America Cup? It's that cup. But anyway, it's the cup. Naz Hillmon is playing in the cup where all the big bad collegiate ballers play. Naz was an All-American this year. She had a 50-point game back in January that I was watching personally, and I was shocked and floored. And then she had a 30-20 game. She had a career high 22 rebounds. And so Miss NaSheema was quite visible during the NCAA tournament. And we'll talk about this too, as far as when Michigan beat Tennessee in the second round. Miss NaSheema was excited, but did apologize to her friends. So anyway, we will talk about that in a moment.
This should be fun.
That will be fun. That's the highlight. Can we start there?
Actually, you know what? Why don't we? There is no linear. We do not need to go linear here. We'll start there because Semeka played for Pat Summitt at Tennessee. She was one of the three Meeks. Shamika Holtzclaw, Semeka Randall, Tamika Catchings. And if you've read Raise the Roof, that was an amazing book that tells the whole story. Semeka was given the last line of the book saying, "Man, I'm sorry that this had to end," and we all were too. So I was pretty excited that when she got drafted by the Storm. And then Miss NaSheema was playing for Vanderbilt. And did you guys play against each other at that time? I'm not quite sure.
So now I'm going to tell my age a little bit. So I am actually 3 years older than Semeka. So when Semeka was a freshman, I was a senior. And so it was the same thing when she came into Tennessee. I was a senior and she was a freshman. So we got to play each other a couple of times my senior year, which we always end up playing about 3 or 4 times, twice during the season, and then once in the SEC tournament if we made it that far. But I know we played at least 2 times.
So I want to throw this disclaimer out because I'm gonna take it a step farther back. Pat Summitt actually was recruiting NaSheema first.
Ooh, oh boy.
I just so happened to be in the gym, and that's how Coach Summitt found me. And I believe, NaSheema, correct me if I'm right, I was probably in 8th grade, right?
Yeah, you were in 8th grade, because that's what I was going to say next. So you were probably what, 12? 11 or 12, because I've been knowing Pat Summitt since I was 14. That's how close her and Mr. Diulis, Coach Diulis was, because so what you probably do or don't know is Vonda Ward from Trinity went to Tennessee before Semeka. So that's how Pat Summitt came to know all of us, because she had recruited Vonda Ward.
Wow, that's a crazy, such a small basketball world though.
It is.
Yes.
Wow. So, well, that's interesting. So you did play each other at least a few times then. That's funny.
Mm-hmm.
And you you never beat Tennessee. So when Michigan beat Tennessee.
Well, I beat them once.
Okay.
I beat them once, but Semeka wasn't there. It was my freshman year before she got there, before the 3 weeks got there.
That's funny.
But I believe Nikki McCray was there. I want to say, was Jolly, is Jolly older than you, Semeka?
Yes. So
I want to say Nikki McCray and Kelly Jolly and some of those guys were there when Vanderbilt beat Tennessee in the SEC championship my freshman year. So back in 1995, I should have brought my ring down. But yeah, that was the one and only time in my career that we've ever beat Tennessee.
Wow, 95 was a good year though. Okay. Do you all, just a side note, do you all still kind of keep in touch with each other a little bit? Like you just named off a bunch of people. So, Kelly and Nikki and all those people, Vonda.
So Semeka, of course, Semeka and I keep in contact, but so those would be her teammates. So if we see each other in passing, we do, but I don't have long-standing relationships with them. But if we saw each other and recognize each other, we speak. When Naz was being recruited, Nikki McCray and I got a chance to talk to each other and reminisce a little bit. But this is at the time she was at South Carolina when Naz was being recruited.
That's really cool.
And of course, I see Semeka Catchings every now and then. I saw her when Naz went out to USA in Colorado, so we were able to catch up. So if we see each other, we catch up.
That's great. So then being a little bit older, then that's when you went to play in the ABL, right? NaSheema, you were the Nashville team, right?
Yes, Nashville Noise.
That's great. How was that experience? What was that like back in the ABL days?
It was terrific. It was when the season was longer. And I was playing for Candy Harvey at the time. Does that name ring a bell?
Wow.
Yes. Yeah. So Vicky Hall, Venus, Saudia Roundtree, Joy Holmes, who I keep in touch with. She still comes and watches Naz play. So a lot of it, and it's so funny to see, like, now that Naz is playing, how many of my old teammates like come to watch her play or is still engaged in basketball. Yes, I can't tell you how many messages or phone calls I get. I actually ran into Janan Rowland before COVID hit, because she has a daughter that's going into college. And I don't know if you remember this, but we lost to Purdue in the Elite Eight with a buzzer beater by Janan Rowland. And so when I saw her, like, all these memories rush back when you see each other. So it's great. And then to get the messages when they watch Naz play is hilarious, because they're like, she looks like you, she runs like you, she plays like you.
Wow, that's a true sisterhood. That warms my heart.
It is.
Yeah,
it is.
And then Semeka, you probably watched Naz a fair amount yourself, huh?
Oh my God, any chance I get, I'm texting her, because I'm texting NaSheema because I see her at the game jumping up and down, or I see the whole family. So we tend to have a couple conversations in the midst of the game. So I'm extremely obviously proud for Naz, but happy for NaSheema to be on that journey with Naz. And Naz is doing her thing. So good job, Sheem. Way to pass the ball and get it done, because she's really talented. She's just fun to watch. Like, you talk about a kid that just loves to play and competes and just does all the little things that doesn't show up in the stat sheet. You don't find those kids often. And so to watch her be great at those things, I mean, it's amazing to watch, because she's undersized and we all know that, but like she uses her body, her size to make shots, to make plays. She runs the floor so freaking hard. I mean,
Yeah.
I have to give like incentives for my post players to run the floor consistently like she does. It's just, again, the things that not show up on the stat sheet, Naz doesn't. And she doesn't, like, I don't know, because I'm not at practice every day. She doesn't like to complain about it. She just gets it done.
Yeah, no, you're right. She's a playmaker, and her passion is really evident in the way she carries herself and the way she plays. And she's just super, super fun to watch. Absolutely, one of my top 3 players to watch this in college right now. By the time, so NaSheema, you didn't play in the WNBA. Was that a choice?
No. So yeah, by the time it was time for us to make a decision if we were going to play in the WNBA or go overseas, I actually was pregnant with Naz at the time. So I just decided to hang it up. I had already had 1 kid, and so I was gonna just stay home and be a mom. And and the decision, and it was a hard decision because I really was passionate and loved basketball, but I figured with 2 young ones at home, I didn't want to take the risk of my mom putting all of us out, sending another kid home for her to take care of. So I figured it was time for me to get a real job.
That's funny.
Now that's the real MVP, her mother, Gail. Oh my gosh.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, maybe, and I know we're kind of hip hopping around, but I kind of like to do that anyway. So that they made a big deal out of your basketball lineage, NaSheema. Maybe we could talk about that for a minute, because it is pretty cool that Naz made it pretty clear during this season that she is in competition with you on statistics, and I beat my mom in this and I beat my mom in that, and then it goes back to your mom. That's pretty special because you don't usually see the maternal lineage with basketball. So maybe you could kind of walk us through that just for a minute.
Absolutely. But first, I got to give a big shout out to Bertha, who's Semeka's mom. She's the real MVP too.
Oh, we're gonna get there. We're gonna get there.
She's Bertha.
Athletic. She just cooks.
She made sure our bellies were full and we were where we needed to be on time. Well, I can't say we were always on time, but we were there. And thanks to Bertha, it took a village. It took a village to get Semeka and I to where we needed to be.
It always does, doesn't it?
So pretty cool story. So everybody talks about me and my mom, but my mom has a sister that really started this. She played at Case Western. So my mom's oldest sister played at Case Western Reserve. So to tell you, she's pretty brilliant. And then she went on to be the athletic trainer for Toledo Rockets for like 25 years. Oh, wow. So then she started us off. And then my mom played at Bethune-Cookman before she transferred to Cleveland State, where she ran the courts there with some of the great legends from the Cleveland State era. And then, so I'm the oldest, so then it's me. And then I have a brother that played at here locally in Cleveland at St. Ed's. And then he went to play at North Carolina. And then he played a stint in the NBA with the Cavs when LeBron was here the first time. And then now he plays overseas.
So basically you got the basketball royal family going here.
Yeah, something to that effect. So then I have my sister Saida, who went to Regina, and Semeka and I can explain that. Went to Regina. She has 4 state championships, and then she went on to play for Debbie Ryan at Virginia. Mm-hmm. And then my baby sister played at Cleveland Central Catholic with Jantel Lavender. So she has a state championship. And then she didn't pursue basketball and after that. So I think there's a total of, so let's see. So my sister has 4, my brother has 1, I have 1, my little sister has 1, and Naz. So there's 8 state championships and 1 national championship and 1 conference championship in our family.
That's amazing. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, so I could see why Naz would feel like she had a lot to live up to. That makes a lot of sense now. She's looking around like, well, dang, I better get it in and do my thing. So
well, because we all used to tease her when she was coming up. We used to tell her she couldn't sit at the championship table because she didn't have a championship. So me and my siblings would sit at a table And we would tell her, you haven't made it to this table yet. And so now she has made it to the table and far exceeded it. So my seat's getting pushed away from the table. She's got, I think the only other person that has an Olympic gold medal is my brother. My brother has an Olympic gold medal, and now Naz has 2 Olympic gold medals. So
wow,
the table's getting kind of lopsided on their end where her and my brother are.
that's pretty cool. Well, that's probably why she doesn't have thin skin like some people do on the social media thing. She's already had to take it and get tough.
Oh yeah. Oh, for sure. She gets it coming and going. She's got an older brother. And I was telling somebody, we have a 24-hour rule. So when Naz first started playing, one of the little league teams didn't have a coach. And so that's where I debuted and retired from coaching when I coached Naz for the first time, her and her teammates, and coaching little girls that don't have fundamentals, that they didn't have a coach. And what I've always learned is little girls just want to play with their friends. And so that's what that whole season was about. And I couldn't wrap my mind around that. Like, I'm trying to teach you figure eights and layups, and you guys are like throwing the ball at each other. And so that is where I debuted and retired from my coaching career,
I get
coaching her. So she does have very thick skin. And that's where I learned our 24-hour rule. So it's for 24 hours, when after a game, I do not talk to her about basketball. I'm just mom. And then after 24 hours, I'm like, you didn't do this, you didn't do that, you missed this post play, you didn't run the floor, you missed this, you didn't set a pick, you got a foul, what was this facial expression? So it's kind of cute. And so she gets that 24-hour grace. So right after the games, I love on her, cheer her on, help her get through whatever ailments or pain she's having. And then 24 hours, she's like running from me. But it works for us.
That is so mentally healthy. I can't even tell you how May is mental health month, and I'm like, wow, that is the best. That is the coolest thing I've ever heard. I wish I would have wish my mom would have done stuff like that. Speaking of mothers, Semeka, I know I did read, like I said, I read Raise the Roof many times actually, but I know about Bertha. She was kind of your rock. How did you get into basketball? I know you just said Bertha basically made sure that you all stayed nutritionized, but how did you get into basketball yourself? Because Ohio is kind of next to Indiana. Ohio is really a basketball mecca, obviously. And you guys grew up in Garfield Heights, which is just outside of Cleveland, right?
Right.
So we went to school in Garfield. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, I got you.
But we lived in Cleveland.
Okay.
We did, on the border, on the other side of the tracks.
Yeah. Right.
Working class neighborhood, blue collar. I can relate to that.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
So I started playing basketball at 6, but it was my neighbors across the street who had a big family. They had there were 3 girls and 2 boys, but their family was really close. So their cousins, everybody would come over to their house, and they had a basketball hoop, and it will always be guys out there playing basketball. And so I was like, yeah, I'm like really sick of playing house and the fake taking the fake grass and pretending like it's greens and you're cooking and you had a rock inside of a pot. I was like, I really want to know what the guys are doing over there. So that's kind of what got me started, triggered it. What was interesting about playing with the guys, I would get hurt and I would have all these scars on my legs, and I would run home crying like, Mom, I'm hurt. And then all of a sudden she said, well, you can't do that anymore. Stop playing with the guys, just play only with the girls. And I was like, forget that. I'm going to play with the guys. So I never told her when I got hurt. I just kept playing. And I had to prove myself to those guys in the backyard. We played this game that was called Booty, which was basically around the world where you had to make these shots. Well, I kept losing, and it was about, say, 10, 15 guys in the back of the yard. Every time I lost, I had to literally put my hands on the pole, stick my butt out, and each guy got 5 hits with the basketball that they threw at me. So they didn't really hit me in the butt because they had terrible aim, but they hit me in the back of the head, the legs, the back. And so it got to a point where they was like, okay, we can't keep hitting her. Like, it's 15 of us and we're knocking the crap out of her. So then they started making me like sprint around the block. So I like literally had a minute to run around the block and before I could play. And that just created toughness for me. So when the loser was always the first person to win. I like literally be crying, shooting shots, but making them. And so excited when I made all my shots, because that meant I got to hit somebody versus somebody hit me all the time.
Man, that's incredible. Yeah, kids are not raised to be strong like that anymore. You were ready for Tennessee. Whatever Pat threw at you, you were ready to go.
Oh,
well,
man.
I'm gonna
You
say
have
even
to be.
before Pat, NaSheema and I can comment on this. Our high school coach was extremely tough on us, Pat Diulis, which we call Coach D. That's our first Pat right there.
Yes.
Or my first Pat, I should say, that like always stayed on us no matter what. NaSheema and I, we can laugh about this. Like, we had a baseball field because he owned this facility, and he would like literally make us run around the baseball field 30, 40 times around the field before we could come in and he remotely pick up a basketball.
Before we could touch a basketball. You had to be in shape before you could get on his floor. And let me just tell you, my first year getting there, I was not in shape. I was not ready. I came in denim shorts. I had on my cute little top, and they were like, it's time to roll the ball out. And I was like, it's time to do what? I just thought I was here to meet everybody to see if I liked you and wanted to play with y'all. And I was in for a rude awakening. So to say that the kids are not tough as we were, for sure, because I'm sure we had some heat exhaustion and some heat stroke and a whole bunch of heat going on that somebody would need to call the authorities on these days. But it made us very strong and very mentally tough. And we could just run up and down the floor for hours and fast breaks. I mean, I just don't think that I see basketball like that anymore, where everybody transition basketball was the name of the game. I don't even know if I could set up a play because we were always just in transition.
You know, that's a good point to bring up. I was going to ask you all how you think the game has changed from then to now, because obviously it's changed, it's evolved. Sometimes I'll be honest, I have to struggle to wrap my head around the changes because it's just really, really different now. What do you guys see? Because you guys are the professionals here. What do you see the differences being?
No, Semeka's the professional. I'm just I just play a professional on TV.
Well, I'll say this. I think the game is a little finesse. I don't think we say the big girl or say NaSheema, like no one likes contact anymore. You have a lot of I don't know what you call them, these trainers trying to make everybody a face-up guard, where they don't embrace playing with their back to the basket and be exceptionally good at that. Like, I mean, I think about the Yolanda Griffins of the world who wasn't afraid of that. Alicia Burris, like, you just don't find those types of players anymore. I have this conversation with our athletes, like, we hate, getting in shape, but I'm like, it's part of the sport. Like, the more oxygen when you have, the more you can go. And then it just allows you to think better, because once these student athletes get extremely tired, I mean, the game gets sloppy. This is how you get hurt. See that constantly, just because mentally they can't push through. And so the game has definitely changed. But like my little story I share with you, nobody's getting hit with a basketball by all means. Like, parents will be taking their kid out of that trainer or that group of people, and or they may be fighting one another for the kid, and the kids stand on the sideline watching. So I think we've just taken the toughness out, and I think you need that if you're trying to be really good, and it doesn't matter what level you at. The tougher teams always last the longest.
That's
So
true.
I 100% agree with Semeka. There are not very many back to the basket players that want to just get in there and be strong. And I'll tell you a really quick funny story. So I think that it helps Naz that her dad is a football player, because Naz is exceptionally strong, like really strong. And it came from, and it's so funny because you always read these stories about football players and boys basketball players, but my husband did the same thing to Naz. So he would have her build a pallet. Instead of, when you had to build a pallet, you had to take the bricks from the front to the back. So you got to drop all these bricks and take them all the way to the back and set up this pallet. And then you got to break the pallet down and bring the bricks all the way to the front. Did the same thing with tires, did the same thing with rocks. We would go, we have to move furniture from the top floor to the bottom floor. And he would make it so fun for them that they had no idea that they were actually getting strong and getting in shape. And so she's exceptionally strong because I believe it's because of those things. And then because not only is Bertha a great cook, but my husband's a great cook too. Hence why I'm extra large now and fluffy. But I think that Semeka made a good point about the trainers. When you go into the gym, people just focus on getting these shots up, and their kids aren't taught the game anymore. And you can tell that with certain kids that the mall is open, but the nobody's shopping, because you're like, you should have made that extra pass, or that wasn't your shot, the next shot was. And I don't think that they're taught that anymore. And we spent a lot of time over COVID with Naz and that, where we broke down so much film, like I'm sure it was like bleeding out of her eyes, to the point where she knows her godmother, she knows her auntie, but we really got her some of our old games and let her break those down and watch them, because you were watching somebody other than yourself now. And when I tell you that I've not seen a spin move like the one Semeka Randall used to do, like, because they just don't teach it. Kids aren't aesthetically, they can't get the pivot foot down without traveling. But those things were taught in the gym, of just, doing it over and over and over again. I love to see it. I've seen some are in slow motion. I've seen some spin moves. The next closest person that I've seen do it like Semeka's spin move is Zaya Cook. And then I can't name another player that can do that spin move again. But I just don't think that they take the time to learn the game. They all think they can play the game, but do you know the game? Do you know the X's and O's? And I don't think that parents nowadays do a good job of that, of teaching their kids the X's and O's. Why are you making this move? Why are you pushing them left? And I just think that part of the art of the game is lost.
That's a really, really good point. I was going to ask you, Semeka, what do you do as a coach to kind of mitigate that?
Well, can I back up 1 second on this, because I want to chime in. Sorry. Shane brought up a good point. I think one of the things by accident for us in our era, we play with old heads. We play with these old guys in the gym, mm-hmm. and like this new generation is just going out and playing AAU basketball, mm-hmm. Where it's super organized, where we play with guys. I remember old guys saying to me, "Hey, young blood, slow down. You don't have to play so fast." Like,
yeah.
Like, give the game some time to happen before you make things happen. Wow. And those were valuable lessons, but I was getting that at the age of 12, at the age of 15. So to answer your question now, what am I doing? Like, for me this year, now that we out of COVID, like, I need to bring guys in, because I think girls don't always compete against one another at the level that they need to, because it's always like, hey, let me help you get by, and then we get by and we good. But then when we get in games, we're not really technically prepared. And I know everybody's goal is to win, but win at what cost is a question. So when you bring those guys back in, like NaSheema and I both probably went through in college for sure, like those guys just push you and make you get out of your comfort zone, but exploit you in practice, which is a great place to be exploited versus in the game. Oh, so you got the mute.
Sorry
There you
about
go.
that. Sorry, ladies. Yeah, had a senior moment. No, that's a great point, and I don't see personally that sometimes I feel like the older generations aren't listened to as much now as they used to be. Like when I was coming up, I feel like people would, we all were like, whatever, mom and dad, what do you know? But at the same time, we did listen to them, even though we kind of pretended like we didn't. And I don't feel like there's as much of that going on right now. Everybody's kind of off doing their own thing, trying to get their own looks and trying to have social media likes and all this kind of stuff. And,
Right.
So no wonder that NaSheema, no wonder that Naz, Naz had a lot of people to be in her ear. And then Semeka, your team is probably pretty lucky to have you if you're going to be bringing in some of the OGs to help, educate them on the game. Because it's not just skills, it's the knowledge of the game. I mean, you look at your former teammate Sue Bird, and last night I was watching them play, and forget which announcer it was. Oh, Reagan Peebley. She was like, Sue Bird just saw this and that and the other thing, and all that is experience. You gotta, you need to listen to the people that have had the experience to play. So, well, basically, you guys probably had a pretty idyllic growing up then in the wonderful basketball state of Ohio, and then being surrounded with the village that you were surrounded with. Do you guys feel like you've lived a blessed basketball life in that way?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Our team was amazing. When you think about it, and NaSheema, correct me if I'm wrong, I think at one point, maybe my freshman year, your senior year, but all 5 of y'all were like going D1 somewhere. We had Luka Willis, who went to Iowa. I guess I'll just name that team. Chrissy Falcon, Penn State, Vanderbilt, Tennessee, Jessica Vanko, St. Bonaventure. Or is that Melissa Creek, St. Bonaventure? I can't get the two confused.
Well, one of them went to, what's the other school in New York?
Niagara. Yep.
Niagara. Yeah.
So like that was our team. Like, so.
And Camila.
I'm sorry, Camila went to Michigan State.
Yep.
Which I talked to her this morning, but yeah. So we had just a ton of talent, man. And it was fun competing every day.
Yeah, no, it's true. And this is probably a good time to bring this up. So people out there, if you play hard and you can find yourself on a lunchbox, like this is when I was living in Seattle, Semeka was playing for the Storm and they put her on a lunchbox, and I still have this thing like, and 19 years later. So if you play hard, kids, and eat your vegetables that Bertha cooks for you, you too will be a great player and a great college coach. I can't wait to see. I'm already excited for the college season. I can't wait to see what head coach Semeka Randall's team is going to bring, and what NaSheema's daughter is going to beast out and probably be the best baller in the nation this year. And oh my God, yeah.
We're super excited. Hopefully we can have fans back in the stands. I'll be watching Winthrop.
I know that was pretty weird. I know, because Naz says she looks, obviously she relies on you in the stands. It must have been pretty weird not to be able to be there, but I know she felt your presence.
Yeah, I don't know. I think she was able to make it without me when she was dropping 50 and 32 and 40. I'll say I think she did pretty good.
Well, I'm definitely have my eye on what Semeka's got going on during the summer, and then anything you want to post on your social media from Puerto Rico, I will definitely highlight, because we're all curious about that and stuff.
Absolutely.
Being able to travel feels like a gift this year, because we didn't get to do that last year. So, I mean, I'm excited about that. Any closing?
I'm definitely excited.
Do you guys have any closing words of advice in 30 seconds or less for the next generation for basketball players?
I would just say embrace the moment, and you stated earlier, listen to the OG. I won't say you have to do everything, because I think NaSheema and I both can speak to this. We had so many people in our ear, so we had to take different pieces to mold it into what we needed to be. And you don't need social media to define who you are as a person. Be strong in what you do and believe it.
Wise. Thank you so much for that. Wow.
Yeah. I would just say love what you do and work hard at it. Don't half. If you're going to give it half, don't do it. Because we can tell, we're watching, and this world of basketball can take you to levels and heights that you can never imagine. And just the other thing, keep your circle small and keep yourself surrounded with people that give you honest feedback.
Man, that's man, you guys got some wisdom up in here. Woo, man. I'm for once in my life, because I'm a Gemini, and you know how we are, I have nothing to say. So it's a miracle. You have spoken.
Drop the mic moment right there.
That's right.
Boom.
This has been awesome.
Boom. Thank you so much, ladies, for joining me up. Much love and much respect. And obviously, we'll all be keeping our eyes on you both this coming fall and all summer long. Thank you so much for joining me. It's been a real privilege and pleasure.
Thanks,
Take care. Thank you for having me.
All right. Thanks a lot. Take care.
Love you, Meek.
Love you back.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.